Looking at the BRIC markets, which at the moment provide some sense of a positive outlook in an otherwise bleak global economic environment, we identify certain commonalities in the consumption of alcoholic drinks. The most important of the commonalities are the very large numbers of legal drinking age consumers, the rapidly advancing westernization and urbanization trends, and the aspirational credentials of the products consumed, as well as the major problem of the illicit trades throughout all the BRICS.
There was a sharp drop in sales of all types of alcoholic drinks in Russia in 2009. The total market decreased by 8%, the sales of wine dropped by 7% and beer by 6% in volume terms. The biggest decline of 8% was in spirits. Of course, financial crisis had a special effect on the sales of elite alcoholic drinks such as whiskey, rum and gin. The market of this product shrank by 16–18% in volume terms.
An interesting thing about Brazil that separates it and makes it quite unique in comparison with the rest of the BRIC nations is that more than 60% of sales are done through the on-trade. Although the on-trade suffered specifically in 2009, it's expected to suffer even more because of legislative changes that saw much stricter drink driving legislation that of course impacted the on-trade sales in the country. The trend of premiumization was very strong in Russia over the review period, and it was one of the main drivers that drove value sales as well as volume sales in the country. An interesting thing that also has to be noted about Russia is the very large scale of illicit or contraband sales that witnessed an even bigger boom during 2009, with some reports suggesting that already about 50% of the sales of vodka in the country are under illicit trade sales.
A new excise tax came into force this year in Russia. The excise duty on spirits will remain at the same level. Excise tax for wine will rise by 30%. However, the excise tax for beer will increase by 220% during next 3 years, and this will of course have a great impact on sales of beer in Russia.
On a completely different direction than the mature markets of Brazil and Russia, in the cases of India and China, the potential is still very high, and 2009 was anything but disappointing. One or two things that have to be stressed about India is, of course, aspirational consumption, which is the case in all BRIC markets, but at the same time, the fact that there are massive legislative barriers in the market because of different legislation in every state, which sometimes makes life extremely difficult for international manufacturers to enter its respective market within India. In the case of China, China had to deal with a series of problems during 2009, problems that didn't have only to do with the recession. It was a year that saw earthquakes, very cold weather, extremely low temperatures, and all of that together just managed to, of course, had an impact in the alcoholic drinks market, which actually saw its growth rates declining, actually halved from the 11% of 2008 to about 6% in 2009, but still quite solid considering the circumstances. Manufacturers should bear in mind some key points before entering new markets and include them in their strategic planning. A good example about that would be the fact that while manufacturers might know that blended Scotch within the next 5 years will be making huge steps in China, it is interesting to know that it will be the higher end of the blended Scotch category, namely brands within the 12-year-old segment like the Macallan or Glenfiddich. And in that sense, the premium end of the market will be the one ideally positioned for entering China and not standard variants of the same category.